FEARNE has confirmed the plan to relax more COVID-19 restrictions. A man has been filmed breaking into and robbing a MELLIEHA restaurant. A former PNMP calls for study into the influence of election surveys. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I'm Diacono, joined today by Darmanin Demajo, and the big story of the day is Health Minister FEARNE confirming the next stage in Malta's COVID-19 exit roadmap, which means the relaxing of more restrictions. And the next stages are as follows. On 10th April, outdoor standing events can take place without any restrictions. That means no vaccine certificates to be allowed in. Standing can take place, or parties can take place as normal. Indoor will still be allowed, but you'll have to present a vaccine certificate for those kind of events. Then on the 13th April, a big one that many people have been talking about, particularly parents, which of course is the removal of the rule obliging children and teachers as well to wear masks for the entire day at school. They'll still be recommended to wear one, but it will no longer be obligatory by law. And then on the 12th April as well, people travelling to Malta from countries on the red list will be allowed to do so if they present a negative PCR test or recovery certificate. At the moment, if you want to travel to Malta from a red list country, you need to present a vaccine certificate, or else you'll have to quarantine. Now the rules are going to be relaxed further, which is a step forward. However, it's also worth noting that the Malta International Airport is asking for more. They're saying it's good that you're allowing people to come into Malta without the need for a vaccine certificate. However, a PCR test is still a bureaucratic process and also a costly process, particularly when you're taking into account a family of, for example, 5 people who are planning their summer holiday. And they're pointing out that this is an issue of competitiveness, that other countries which could be competing for the eyeballs of these potential tourists have removed further restrictions. They don't even need a test at all to enter, countries like Ireland and countries like the UK. And they're asking for more clarity from the government.
Well, hopefully, Tim, by summer they will have eased these restrictions as well. I agree, travelling with 2 children, it is an extra expense having to get tests for them to come back in at over €100 per test. It just adds to the expense of a holiday. So yes, it's a good idea for us to be able to compete better with other Mediterranean countries. I wholeheartedly cannot wait to remove the masks off my children's faces. We are counting down together. Moving on, Hermanos Burgers in MELLIEHA was robbed early this morning. Police are investigating the break-in, which was caught completely on CCTV. I don't know if you saw any of the footage, Tim. A man can be seen walking around the restaurant, opening the cash, taking some money. He had his torch and he was walking around the kitchen. Obviously nobody was there at the time, so nobody got hurt. Back in 2021, there was another incident at Hermanos in St. Julian's where a man, I think more than one person had gone in and was threatening to staff. So at least this incident was less worrying or less scary for the people working there. But still, at the same time, it's always unfortunate when you're a target of crime, and the staff are left feeling a bit vulnerable. I don't know if you've ever experienced a break-in, Tim. I have, and it does make you feel very insecure. However, Hermanos, as always, took a light-hearted approach and said even the robbers were desperate for a taste of their burgers. But we hope that this gets sorted out.
Ultimately, we hope that the criminal gets caught.
Absolutely.
And that the money is returned and that justice is done. I think at least the footage seems pretty clear, and hopefully the police have enough information to track down the culprit. Moving on, former PNMP Clyde Pooley has called for a detailed study into how regular surveys carried out before the election which were consistently forecasting a massive electoral victory for Labour, may have influenced the Maltese electorate. Now this is quite an interesting one because his point is that that it's possible that when seeing as surveys are coming out every single month, if sometimes even more, between the 2017 election and the 2022 election, and they were constantly showing the same margin of victory for Labour, it could have played some kind of games even on a subconscious level with the electorate for a number of reasons. For example, it convinced the PN to get rid of its leader halfway through his term, Adrian Delia, on the back of really poor survey results. It could have convinced people to stick with the majority, when you know that there's one party with a clear chance, not a clear chance, it's such a massive favourite, you might be more tempted to hedge your bets and stick with that party. On the other hand, it could also have meant that Labour supporters might have been a bit complacent in the sense, and if they were angry at the government, they might have just stayed at home rather than voting because they were safe in the knowledge that the party was going to win anyway. So yeah, Clyde Pooley is calling for a study into this. He is a sociologist himself, so I'm sure he knows what he's talking about, and it will be interesting to figure it out, because there's so many theories, so many explanations, so many theories, not just about the survey aspect, but about the election in general. And what I've noticed is a lot of them are contradictory. So some are saying the PN lost because it spoke too much about corruption. Some are saying it lost because it didn't speak enough about corruption. Some because it was too liberal. Some because it was too conservative. There's so many contradictory viewpoints. I do think a study is necessary, not just into the surveys, but that should be one aspect of it.
That's a really interesting aspect. I never actually thought about something like that the surveys could actually influence the vote. I mean, it was always said, right? Labour were clearly going to win the election. It never seemed like there was any doubt in anybody's mind, but I didn't think that sentiment could actually affect the way people voted. So it would be very, very interesting to learn more, definitely. So a large dead fish has been dumped in the countryside near the CUMNIJA facility in MELLIEHA. Local councillor Gabriel Mikallef shared an image of the remnants, saying the council has a responsibility to act, and he called for more environmental rangers to patrol the areas and more investment in mobile surveillance cameras. The locality faces consistent dumping, and residents actually volunteer to clean up the area. There's a strong civic sense within the community, but they say that this is a vicious cycle that continues to happen. I mean, Malta does have a problem with littering and dumping. This is something we see regularly. I think it was last year I myself was driving home and came across a huge fish head just dumped in Gargour. It was quite shocking, to say the least. I don't know how it ended up there. So yes, people do need to learn a bit more of responsibility of how to properly get rid of the things they don't want.
Yeah, something for the new Environment Minister, Miriam Daly, to tackle. It is a problem in Malta that's been happening for a while. Finally, we're going to close off with some good news. If you remember, back in November, a video had gone viral in Malta of a man who had approached the edge of the Valletta bastions, thinking about jumping off, and horrifically there was a crowd that gathered below him, egging him to just get on with it because they needed to because they want to continue their day. Horrific scenes. However, there has been an update. The man has spoken out, the man who was thinking of committing suicide, saying how he feels much better now, how thanks to the help he received. I want to quote him directly. There was an interview he gave with talk.mt. The problems I faced have gone, and today I feel much better. Thank you to Mark Schwerep. Mark Schwerep is the psychiatrist who leads Crisis Resolution Malta. And thank you to all of Malta. You helped me so much, and I love Malta and all her people. I want to thank the crisis team, the police, and Malta for all you did for me. Mark Schwerep, who was actually personally on site to help this man change his mind, spoke out as well about how after an hour of negotiations, the team managed to convince this man not to kill himself. And he praised this man's journey as a story of success, saying that this shows that suicide is never the solution. All it does is spread the pain from one generation to another. So great to see. Also a great shout out to not just Mark Schreier, but also him and the team at Crisis Resolution Malta. These are a team of volunteers, people who will be called in at any given notice to try and convince people in the darkest times of their life not to go through with something like suicide, which is and great to see when there are successes, and they need to be. And I think it's also good to hear the success stories being spoken out about as well.
100%. We're so happy that this guy is feeling better, and we wish him well. And anyone who's feeling like they need to talk to someone, there are resources out there, and there are people that you can contact, and you are never alone. So do get in touch if you need to talk to someone.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Make sure you follow lovinmalta.com for all the latest happenings, and have an evening full of loving.